It's time for a raise for Arizona teachers.
What do we want? 4%! When do we want it? Now!
The president of the Crybabies, if you talk to Glenn Henry.
I'll put myself in a little timeout.
We are fed up with promises and Band-Aids and gimmicks.
It's a new year, and Arizona teachers are renewing their fight for better pay. Republican Governor Doug Ducey says he shares that goal, but he said the same thing 1 year ago. You just heard it. So what's changed this year? We find out tomorrow when Ducey delivers his 4th State of the State speech, telling us where he wants to take Arizona in the year ahead. A year, by the way, when Ducey is running for a 2nd term as governor. Settle in today for our State of the State preview with insiders and top elected officials. Coming up, the questions the governor has to answer in his speech. The 3 issues that matter most this session. And a little later, 5 of the kookiest bills you're going to hear about. But first, what a top Republican and a top Democrat want out of this year's session. Joining us this morning, 2 members of their respective party leadership in the House. Republican State Representative T.J. Shope of Coolidge and Democratic State Representative Randy Freese of Tucson. Good to see you both.
Good morning. Thanks for having us on.
Let's start with the scandal that blew up while you were out of session late in the year, sexual harassment becoming a huge issue at the Capitol. There is an investigation going on right now in the House. It may take who knows how long. What's the next step here in dealing with this?
Well, I think that you're absolutely right. First off, there is an investigation going on. My understanding is that questioning of those who have come forward and their stories have been told. The compilation of all of that will be taking place over the next few weeks, and hopefully we'll have a result of that investigation coming up after that. I can tell you that on Tuesday, let me backtrack just a second. Yesterday or the day before, all staff had to sit through a training, a retraining on what constitutes sexual harassment and things like that. On Tuesday, we will have a joint caucus, Republicans and Democrats, together on the floor of the House for several hours, where we'll have a sexual harassment training. We will have other items that constitute as things that legislators, in my opinion, should know better. But just a refresher to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
So Tuesday, a several-hour seminar on sexual harassment for all.
Absolutely.
All 60
100%.
Members of the House.
We were taking this very seriously.
And I think it's a very important first step that we all get to a common understanding of what we're talking about. And that's the first step, to make sure that we all understand what these words mean and the implications of them.
And you brought this up last session.
I brought it up earlier in the session.
What were the red flags for you?
We had some between some members, some disagreements and some commotion in committee where a female member felt that she was being disrespected, and we brought that up and we talked about, I think that there's a problem. We don't all have the same understanding of what these words mean. And I'm just very happy that we've gotten to the point where we're going to establish that and make sure everyone is on the same page.
All right, let's talk about respective agendas. What's at the top of the Republican agenda for this session?
Well, I think at the top of the Republican agenda this session, as always, is getting through with a balanced budget at the end of the year. I think that we're looking at a session that will last anywhere from probably 80 to 100 days, making sure that we take care of significant issues like water, which I know is not one of the, dare I say, sexier issues to talk about, but it is the lifeblood of all of our lives here in the state. But we also have other things on economic development, whether it's the extension of the Arizona Commerce Authority, who I believe has done great work. I live in Coolidge. Casa Grande, for example, has seen an explosion on potential jobs coming to that area, and a lot of that is the work of the Arizona Commerce Authority working with local entities. So those are the kind of things that I believe we'll be talking about this
Democrats?
Well, of course, number one thing on our agenda is education, our public schools, supporting our public schools, getting our teachers pay they deserve. Our teachers are professionals. They need to be treated as such. They perform an important function for Arizona's children and Arizona's future. I think it was given lip service last year. We have not paid appropriate attention to this issue. One thing I would like to highlight on a good note is the governor's attention to the opioid epidemic. He's brought us to the table early, and I want to say thank you to the governor and his staff for that. I'd like to see more of the same on the education issue. We were asked our opinion last year, but we weren't listened to. We made some offers and some concessions, but they weren't considered.
And so what about that? Educators got a 1% raise each. Well, it's not, sorry, take that back. It's a stipend. It's not a raise. It's just like a here's a check for you guys. Where do you see that going? What will the Republicans commit to doing this session to boost teacher pay?
I believe what we're going to do is, obviously, year 2 of the raise will kick in. I also sit on a governing board of education in my local school district. This is my 10th year doing so. We've, in my local school district, have given raise to classified and certified employees throughout the last 5 years. And we are committed to doing that at a local level. And I think at a state level, you do have members that are committed to doing what we can. We infuse cash. Some of it was one time, some of it was ongoing last year. I believe that there will be a commitment from the Republican caucus to make sure that that continues, in addition to looking at other avenues where we can go ahead and work on education funding going forward. I think I'm very bullish on where we're going with that.
Where do you see the real kind of battles looming?
Well, education funding, I mean, as we're talking about, we need to secure an ongoing funding stream. And I think we need to sit down together and talk about being stewards of our revenue and making sure that we're protecting the revenue that we use to provide the services the state requires. So I think this will be a clashing point, in fact. We weren't happy. We didn't think we got enough for education last year in my caucus. We're going to be asking for more and pushing for more.
What about tax cuts? There were reports late in the year that there might be a deficit.
Right.
Because of the corporate tax cuts over the last several years, and yet we keep hearing the economy is doing really well, and that appears to be the case.
I think you bring a great point. Mr. Ducey, our governor, campaigned his first tax cut every year. Really interested in what his plans are for this year.
I believe, look, we had some looking at a one-time deficit. It was not a structural deficit. As we go forward, the picture is fairly rosy, in fact. And shortly after we saw that first month that came in that showed we had, like, I believe, 3 consecutive months of higher than projected revenue. One of the things I think we can look forward to, and I know that this is something that we're experiencing, even if we just look outside of our own windows here at the studio, is that it's going to be 75 degrees here. It's about 5 degrees everywhere else in the country. I think our springtime tourism season is going to be spectacular. We're going to have increases in sales taxes, bed taxes, everything like that. We have a great 2018 in front of us. I've never been more excited.
Last word.
If I may just say that I think it's time for us to start looking at protecting and looking after the job holder and not just the shareholder. Let's make Arizona a great place to live and have a job.
All right, Randy Freeze, TJ Shope, thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you this session.
You bet.
When we come back, questions our insiders expect Governor Doug Ducey to answer in his State of the State speech. And we verify 5 of the kookiest new bills that have already been filed. Stay with us.